حضورنا الكريم، نواصل برنامج المؤتمر مع جلسة حوارية تتناول دور الإعلام الجديد والذكاء الاصطناعي في بناء المجتمعات وتعزيز الوعي وحماية القيم الإنسانية في العصر الرقمي. يدير الجلسة الدكتور د.سيبي مدير التعليم والتوعية في بيت العائلة الإبراهيمية، ويشارك فيها سعادة الدكتور إتيان برشتولد سفير جمهورية النمسا لدى دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وسعادة الدكتور محمد حمد الكويتي رئيس مجلس الأمن السبراني لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وسعادة الدكتور محمد جابر بن جبر نائب رئيس مجلس إدارة جمعية الإمارات لحقوق الإنسان. دكتور كيف؟
Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start off with a figure, 700 million. 700 million weekly active users, and that's only ChatGPT. So I'm not talking about any other of the other tools that we're using for integrating AI. Now, and AI is around us everywhere. It means like when we go on travel now, we're going to use AI to find where we're going to go for recipes. When ChatGPT introduced the suggestions model, I received emails where at the end of the email they said, suggestion, should I make this email more polite? Which showcased as well the limitations of AI, that you really have to have a close look at it. Now, in full transparency, the speech prepared here in the questions, I also used AI for this. I used it to find the right flow, to check my questions. And so if anything I'm saying not appropriate, or not appropriate, then you can address it to Sam Altman. I tried to get through ChatGPT his phone number, but showcased that there's limitations there as well for the information provided. Now, one more figure before I actually introduce the distinguished panel is 73% of Americans say AI should play no role in advising people about their faith in God. Meanwhile, 61% of pastors already use AI weekly or daily. So this is just to indicate that the AI is not something anymore in the future. It's really here, and something we really have to address now. And is also showcased by the encyclical letter, the Magnifica Humanitas of His Holiness Leo XIV on safeguarding the human person in a time of AI. So we see that AI is something that we should address now, and especially from faith or interfaith angle. Now, I have a great privilege here to sit with three excellent speakers. First of all, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Kuwaiti, Head of Cybersecurity UAE Government and Executive Advisor to the Supreme Council for the National Security. So he will bring in the aspect of AI, cybersecurity, digital resilience into this panel. Then we have on my far right is actually Dr. Mohammed Jabber bin Jabber, who is the Vice Chairman of Emirates Human Rights Association, who can bring in the perspective of civil society, tolerance, and coexistence. Last but not least, my friend Dr. Etienne Berchold, Ambassador of Austria to the UAE, who is going to bring in the diplomatic aspect of this discussion. Now, what I noticed as well just now is that we all have doctors in front of our name, so that means that but just for the audience to make this clear, we all have written our PhDs before the AI models were there. So that means we did it by the hard work that we had to do to write such PhDs. There you go. There you go. Let me immediately kick off with Your Excellency, Dr. Mohamed Al-Kuwaiti. In the speeches we heard before, we talked about the AI ambition, and we also mentioned that the UAE has the AI ambition to be an AI native government by 2027. At the same time, the UAE is also mentioned in the speeches that a beacon of tolerance, not only by my own institution, the Abrahamic Family House, but also by this conference or other, the Year of Tolerance and all the other elements that the UAE is doing promoting tolerance. So my question to you, Your Excellency, is from your perspective, how can AI actually build this society which is more coherent, more tolerant, to make sure that we are on the right track? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this, again, great questions, and again, honored to be a part of this great event. As a matter of fact, having an AI, safe security, cybersecurity is really an integral part of so many of the things that we're actually doing and building, as a matter of fact. Our national cybersecurity strategy focuses on 5 main pillars. Those pillars, one of them is governance. We need these legislations, laws, policies, standards, things that we need to put our roadmap towards. The second main pillar is the innovation. UAE is well known about innovation. And because of those great 200 nationalities, because of those great tolerance, because of this great, alhamdulillah, peaceful nations in that perspective, so definitely this is one of the main pillars in that aspects. The third pillar of our national cybersecurity strategy focuses on partnership. We cannot do this without partners. Private sector, government sectors, society, non-government organizations, entities who will help in building such a perspective. The fourth pillar is building technology, sovereign technology, data. By the end of the day, we need those technologies that we could depend on, that we could control, that we could trust. And this is not an easy word of actually trusting technology in that aspects. We saw how much technology actually could turn into a negative things if used and or abused by many of those aspects. And the fifth pillar is what we are really missioned to do, to protect and to defend. And that's one of the major things that we are actually really focused on. So having those 5 pillars approved by the cabinet, approved by the leadership, approved by many of our great aspects, we have put that roadmap to move towards an AI nation by 2071. And we need everybody, as a matter of fact, to help us in doing that and moving towards that nation in a positive as well as in a great milestones that I'm sure you've seen many of those milestones. Latest milestones is to move 50% of our government AI services or government services into an AI agentic perspective. That's what we are already, alhamdulillah, working in many of those aspects. So we need to focus on, again, 3 things, and I'm sure we've heard it in that perspective. Culture. We need to build the right culture. We need to use these technologies into the positive values that we've been, as a matter of fact, really raised on. Those values not only reflects our society, not only reflects our global positive aspects, tolerance, peace, prosperities, sustainability development goals, as His Excellency mentioned, and many of those aspects. So definitely tolerance to us, our culture is very important. And what comes with the culture? The whole end-to-end perspective. Even the curriculums that we need to teach in the schools or many of those things. And I'm sure you've heard of, alhamdulillah, changing many of those curriculums to cope with many of those aspects. The second thing is actually what we call our values. Emirati values. When someone speaks or actually presents something in the social media, in the internet, in any of those development, we need to know that we are reflecting our nation, we're reflecting our values, we're reflecting what we really build on. And this is very important to us. Not only the culture, but reflecting the values that we already raised on. Well, that's very important to us in that perspective. And the third one, and what we are actually really focused on our first line of defense. It's the society. And this society need to have this awareness of cybersecurity, need to have this simple hygienes of using technology, of using security in a proper way. Well, that's what we've seen, alhamdulillah, during the crisis. That's what we've seen, alhamdulillah, during many of those things where the society become our first line of defense, reflecting many of the values that we have and working with us in order to achieve those goals. And we need that society and a partnership with many of the things we have. If we combined all of those, the pillars of national cybersecurity strategies, with those three, alhamdulillah, culture from tolerance as well as the societal and the values that we have, we will definitely reach to an AI nation that we are really proud of and positively spreading this across the whole globe.
Thank you, Excellency. And thank you as well for addressing already the curriculums, but it's an easy transition for me for my next question to His Excellency Mohammed Jabir bin Jabir. The main question that we have in these debates is how digital platforms and media can strengthen global understanding. Now, at the Emirates Human Rights Association, you are having classes on human rights, so you have a curriculum for it. So I was wondering, is like how is the civil society involved in this? So how can AI help with building these curriculums, and how can the civil society support as well?
ابتداء حبيت أشكر باحث الإمارات لدعوتنا للمؤتمر الدولي الثالث لحوار الحضارات والتسامح. وللإجابة على السؤال، من منظور جمعية الإمارات لحقوق الإنسان والمنطلقات الاستراتيجية لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، ينظر إلى مؤسسات المجتمع المدني بصفتها شريكاً أساسياً وركيزة لا غنى عنها في حماية وتعزيز كرامة الإنسان وترسيخ التسامح والتعايش السلمي، لا سيما في ظل التحديات والفرص التي يفرضها العصر الرقمي الحالي. يمكن تلخيص هذا الدور المحوري عبر عدة مسارات رئيسية. الأول، تقوم الجمعية بصياغة وتبني مفهوم التسامح الرقمي، وتدعو إلى مكافحة خطاب الكراهية الرقمي، وتقوم بتقديم التوعية بالحقوق الرقمية من تثقيف أفراد المجتمع بأن كرامة الإنسان ملازمة له رقمياً كما هي واقعياً، وأن احترام خصوصية الآخرين وعدم التنمر الإلكتروني هو جزء أصيل من منظومة حقوق الإنسان. كذلك تدعو الجمعية إلى التمكين المعرفي والمواطنة الرقمية الإيجابية من خلال تطوير وبناء قدرات وطنية خاصة الشباب والنشء لتعزيز مفهوم المواطنة الرقمية، وكذلك تحصين الهوية الثقافية الاجتماعية، حماية النسيج الاجتماعي من الأفكار المتطرفة أو الدخيلة التي قد تنساب عبر الفضاء الرقمي المفتوح، من الحفاظ على التوازن بين الانفتاح العالمي والخصوصية الثقافية، كذلك بناء الشراكات الاستراتيجية من الجهات التشريعية والتنفيذية والقطاع الخاص، والمساهمة في تطوير التشريعات، تقديم مرئيات واستشارات حقوقية لتطوير القوانين المتعلقة بمكافحة جرائم تقنية المعلومات والذكاء الاصطناعي بما يضمن حماية حقوق الأفراد ودون المساس بحرياتهم الأساسية. التعاون مع القطاع التكنولوجي، بناء قنوات حوار مع شركات التقنية الكبرى ومنصات التواصل الاجتماعي لضمان تطوير خوارزميات وسياسات استخدام تحترم التنوع الثقافي والديني وتمنع الانحياز أو التميز الرقمي لضمان الكرامة الرقمية. كذلك حماية الفئات الأكثر عرضة للمخاطر الرقمية من خلال مكافحة الاتجار بالبشر على الإنترنت والمساهمة في نشر الوعي حول الأساليب الرقمية الحديثة، وحماية الطفل في الفضاء الرقمي، كذلك إيجاد آليات ومبادرات مجتمعية تحمي الأطفال من الاستغلال والتنمر الإلكتروني بالتعاون مع المؤسسات التعليمية والأسرية. نعم، بس هذا نعم. الله يسلمك.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. From civil society, I want to make transition now to the diplomacy angle of it. So that means, like, Your Excellency, you are the ambassador here of Austria. Austria is well known as UAE for their efforts on the interfaith angle and the tolerance angle. So I was wondering, like, first of all, how do you see AI changed your profession as a diplomat, and then as well, like, specifically from how can it be reshaping as well the intercultural dialogue taking place in diplomacy?
Good morning, and thank you very much for this kind invitation to participate again at this wonderful conference. And just to make a remark on off topic, just quickly to His Excellency, because it shows how much interconnected nowadays everything is. I was working 9 years for the Austrian Chancellor, Sebastian Kurz, whom you might know. After politics, he switched into the business environment. And what did he do? He created a cybersecurity company, very much in line with what you said, Dream. And this company, like other companies, is trying to train AI to identify threats and to work together with AI in defensive cybersecurity. So it shows how interconnected it really is and how all our worlds are really interwoven, right? And what I see here in the UAE on a daily basis is the spirit of innovation, entrepreneurship, and we can get that done. And that's something that I want to bring more back to Europe, because we need a little bit more of your spirit of we can get it done. And your concept of the 3 pillars, Your Excellency, I never hear that in Europe when we discuss cybersecurity, because we like to think in silos. So cybersecurity is for the cyber experts, the nerds nobody wants to talk to except you have a problem and somebody wants a ransom payment, which often happens to our companies, and then I will go to your question, yeah? But it's really, we try not to talk to the cyber experts because they are boring, right? But actually it affects us on a daily basis. If we are hacked, we have a damn problem, and then it needs to be solved. But we need to think in a holistic way, as you outlined, and then it would be better, because then we listen earlier to the cyber experts. We do not come to the situation where ransom is expected, and we do not endure damage. And now to your question, of course it affects diplomacy and in dialogue, but in a good way, because it opens so many possibilities. And we have the physical space that we can still meet, like we did at the Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue 2 years ago at the Abrahamic Family House. We can meet at conferences like today. That's the one part. At the same time, this whole conference can be streamed, recorded. We can reach other audiences on a worldwide scale. We can get video messages. We can start discussions with people all over the globe at the same time. So actually, not like 50 years ago, people need to travel to have a discussion. We can combine it. And this actually is something where the UAE, hosting 200 nationalities, is a pioneer, that we combine the physical world and the digital world and use AI to create common ground and to forge a common narrative. And this is easier if we use the new technologies, who also, AI might sometimes have a good idea, a good input. Sometimes it's wrong and it needs to be checked, because sometimes it's still hallucinating. So I would encourage everyone, when just copying and pasting, to really check it, because sometimes it encourages you to do something which is not based on facts but more on encouragement. But there are possibilities, it will get better, and wisely used, this can be the perfect breeding ground for something much better. But of course, we also need to fight false narratives. We need to fight those forces who try to create divisions online. We have that. We see that in our Western societies a lot. Certain countries pushing very false narratives where we need to counter. But the best way to counter it is to not only counter, but to not be against something, so against a certain narrative, which we again very much focused on, so disinformation, but to have a narrative what you stand for. And there I see the UAE, you're not so much against, you are standing for something. You have your family values, your traditional values. That makes you stronger, because you're not only against something. So there we can also learn from you. And there we can use both words, the physical, the normal meeting grounds, the schools, the Abrahamic Family House, the Sheikh Zayed Museum, but also the digital world.
Thank you. And like, look, what you're addressing is very interesting because like the main idea, and I actually came back in all three already, is like the trust that you need to have then in the tools that you're using to do so, and also in the ideas that Pope Leo XIV did on AI is also showcasing that to make sure that this human stays centric, that means that we really have to make sure that we can trust it. So, and actually want to go a bit deeper on that one. So, and feel free to jump in, whoever feels ready to answer the question. Is how can we make sure that that we keep the trust? Because trust is clearly in all three fields is going to be a crucial element. So, how can we make sure that there is trust to use the AI tools in an efficient way?
I can start with that, definitely, inshallah. So, some of the great points Mr. Ambassador alluded to is the common values. Those common values is the start of many of those trust. We in technology, in cybersecurity, in AI, we build the trust on those confidence of the use of this technology, on the results, on the products, and the performance of many of those technologies whenever it actually adds values to us, not only from a return of investments and economical aspect, but also from a mission-related things. So, for instance, if we are defending the nation from any of those cyber attacks, and if I have used the dream, or if I have used many of those solutions to protect me from those attacks, definitely that's provide for me that trust. It's a first or a second line after the society, a second line of that defense. Now, the trust with the community is another added great value where we involve them. We partner with them. We jointly exercise many of those things that we do, as a matter of fact, in a daily manner. We turn this cyber into a hygiene for every single person, where they use this as a lifestyle. And this is where we definitely build that trust with the technology. And build that trust, again, cascading that, not only on that person, but also in his family, in his society. And this is where then many of those pillars that we actually discussed, actually, and as a matter of fact, build on this trust. And this trust is easy to gain, and actually the other way around. It's easy to break, but harder to gain. And this is where we need to build this trust aggressively with everybody, and we need to showcase how important is this trust, what we have. We here in UAE is really proud of the community that we are in, the 200 nationalities that we do, the values that we actually reflect, the acceptance and tolerance of everybody's ethics, values, or even whatever they want to bring in that perspective. And that's what gives us this trust from the community. Alhamdulillah, God bless the vision of the leadership and the community that we have. Every day it adds great value in this trust. Well, that's what we need, as a matter of fact, that great value in the trust, and building that trust to, again, a more and more maturity levels in that perspective.
Thank you. Your Excellency, do you agree with, from the perspective, from a community perspective, if this is the right path to make sure that we have trust?
في الحقيقة الأمن السيبراني اليوم هو الركيزة الأساسية في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، واللي يقومون عليه الإخوان يعني بجهود عظيمة. الأمر المهم في الموضوع أن تطور الأمن السيبراني وتطور السوشيال ميديا وتطور الخوارزميات الموجودة، يضطر المجتمع ويضطر التشريعات أن تصدر تشريعات جديدة تتواكب مع التطورات التكنولوجية والخوارزميات. كذلك نحن يعني نحرص على تثقيف المجتمعات وتثقيف الأفراد، وكذلك نستقطب فئات معينة منهم الأطفال والعوائل، ونحاول نوصل لهم كل المعلومات التقنية على أساس أن يحمون نفسهم من الاختراق الإلكتروني، يحمون نفسهم من التنمر الإلكتروني، وكذلك الابتزاز الإلكتروني. والحمد لله دولة الإمارات فيها قوانين متجددة. يعني أول شيء كان في يعني قانون الطفل اللي هو دون 13 سنة ببيانات المعلومات أنه يحظر أن يستخدم أي معلومات إلا بحدود ضيقة مثل المدارس ومثل اللي هي تحتاجها، أما في حظر تام للمعلومات هذه. كذلك وجود قوانين صارمة في مواضيع الابتزاز الإلكتروني، في مواضيع التنمر الإلكتروني، في مواضيع أي جريمة إلكترونية أخرى. والحمد لله الأمور ماشية بتطور. نعم.
Thank you, Excellency. Ambassador?
There is a very good point made about trust, and that cybersecurity is the main line of defense, and I agree, because you can knock out all our societies these days by pushing through a very elaborate cyber attack. We have no more electricity, no more water. That's the end of it, right? So in the new wars, it's mostly fought in the cyber domain. Of course, also in the physical, but first and foremost, you have the cyber domain that is targeted, while we also in Europe are now focusing more on that. But what we are still missing a little bit is where we can learn really from the UAE and similar countries is this effort of building trust and building a common narrative based on common values, defining what binds us together. And that's a bit a challenge, and that's also why the whole topic of integration is so important in Europe. Our societies absorbed a lot of migrants from different parts of the world over the last 15 years. Syria, Afghanistan, some voluntarily, some involuntarily, but they are here now. And the challenge is, what do you do with all those new migrants who do not share our values, who do not share our culture, not share our language, but they are here. And you need to either make sure that they integrate or that they leave again, one way or the other. Otherwise, we will fail as a society. So the task of integration is even more important in our societies in Europe, based on what happened the last 15 years, based on that to create common values again, a common narrative of something that everyone who lives in the country is a resident, like here, agrees on. The laws are being implemented, because there's also trust that I as a resident can rely on authorities of the state to really implement a law and to also expel someone if he breaks the law or she. It's being done properly here. Not so much in Europe. We have deficiencies. We're working on it now. We're getting a bit better of also repatriating people who do not observe the laws. And that's essential, because on the basis of the law being respected and implemented and applied equally, there is trust. Otherwise, there is no trust. Trust erodes. Society erodes and falls apart. And that's the big risk the West is facing in the next 20 years. The trust will further erode. The societies will fall apart. There is a reason why Westerners are very happy here. There is a reason. Because they feel safe, secure. There are common values, traditional values that we all share, family values. It's being respected. A law is being implemented. If someone breaks the law, there is a consequence. There's no negotiating and no victimization. And oh, this guy was traumatized in Afghanistan, and so he cannot follow the law, or he was traumatized in Syria, so you have to respect him. And he goes to jail for 3 months, and then he goes to social worker and tells him, oh, I regret. And then he does the same thing all over again, and the social worker tells you again, oh, he's such a traumatized victim. This erodes trust. I don't think it would be possible here in this country, right, to do such things. In our places, it's possible. So we need to learn vice versa to build trust.
Thank you, Excellency. And to wrap up, like I just, when you were talking, I was thinking about a story, and I'll be very short, that happened recently. So I work for the Abrahamic Family House, and I have a 5-year-old son. And my son comes home and he says that he was praying. I was a bit surprised because I never taught him how to pray. Also, as my wife has a different religious background, I was not sure in which tradition he was praying. Now, as I work at the Abrahamic Family House, I had the privilege to take my son to the AFH itself. As I have good relationship with the religious leaders, I asked the religious leaders to be actually in their respective houses of worship. so that my son could actually go around and ask the questions that he wanted to ask. I also learned a lot, by the way, with engaging with our religious leaders and our wonderful guides. We have a stand there, by the way, so if you want to know more about AFH, please go to our stand, because our guides will there be telling you a lot more about AFH. But to come to my point, when my son was there and he visited the places and so on, he really understood what it is to have different religions, how people are praying in different ways. And after that one, when he talks about praying, he is actually already referring to the right religions, which I think is very impressive for a 5-year-old. So, and to wrap up, I just want to ask you, like, how important is it that we have physical spaces like AFH, or that we do this conference to make sure that we keep the human connection? But what's the importance of having this here in the UAE?
So it's definitely very important to do that partnership, mutual benefits. Again, Mr. Ambassador did mention that. We learn from each other. We build that aspects. And definitely, we build that for the purpose of, again, humanity. Human-centric aspect to us is our main cornerstones in many of those aspects. Securing that human factor from, again, bullying, from scams, from cyber attacks, from any of the aspects is very, very important. So again, back to your kid, God bless him in that aspects, and I'm sure he will definitely benefit from the technology for the purpose of the goals that he already have in mind. Spreading the peace, spreading the tolerance, spreading many of those aspects, and this is what we actually really focused on. That culture and that tolerance is the goal that we need to spread using that technology.
Thank you. Ambassador, you want to add something to it?
Yes, totally. From my experience here, from the last intercultural and interreligious dialogue that we held with the UAE as Austria, this took place in the Abrahamic family house. And already the place told a story of this very long-standing commitment of the United Arab Emirates to bring people, religions together to have a dialogue. It was so inspiring. I had a bishop and a rabbi and, of course, the president of our Islamic community, professors, civil society representatives, and they were impressed. They got a tour of the mosque, the synagogue, the church, the place, and this, as you said, Your Excellency, this really represents the values of the UAE, and this is why we need spaces like the AFH and the Sheikh Zayed Museum and other places that tell a story that binds us together. So in that respect, it's very important, and I'm glad to tell you also that the next round will be held in Vienna this fall, and we will also there think about which places we can visit that again tell a story that binds us together and forges a common narrative.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mohammed Al-Jaber, I'm going to give you the last word for this session.
شكرا جزيلا على هاي الاستضافة، وتشرفت باللي قدمتوه. والحقيقة في موضوع التعايش والتسامح في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، صراحة مثل ما تفضل الأستاذ، تجد الكنائس وتجد المساجد وتجد المعابد، وما حد ينكر على الآخر. الأمور مقننة والحمد لله، وخطاب الكراهية الحمد لله الدولة اعتنت فيه، ويعني ما في زيادة على هذا. شكرا.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I really have to wrap up. I still have a lot of ideas, but as we are partnering with Emirate Scholars, I want to make sure that we can partner next year as well. So thank you as well for the great cooperation for the conference, and thank you, Your Excellencies, for the great talk. Thank you.